Nomenclature of alcohols is pretty straightforward. We take an alkane and slap the OL to the end of the name. So this way we get methanol from methane and ethanol from ethane. But as soon as you have more atoms in your molecule, you'll also have to indicate where we have that OH group. So for instance, here we have propane 2-ol, also known as 2-propanol or isopropanol. And since alcohols have been known for way over 2000 years and nomenclature of organic substances evolved as a natural language, we'll see a lot of common names for many different alcohols. In this video, I'll focus on the systematic or the IUPAC names. Here is another fun example. This alcohol is hexadecane 1-ol, which is also known as palmethyl alcohol, which is used in cosmetics as opacifier, aka the substance that makes your stuff more opaque. Traditionally, the titanium oxide has been used for these purposes for many years, but with the recent discovery of its toxicity and potential carcinogenic effect, many industries have been exploring other options. And today I, Victor, your guide to all things organic chemistry, will teach you all you need to know about the nomenclature of alcohols. So grab your cup of coffee and notebook to work through the examples with me, hit that like button for good luck on the test, and let's get started. Let's start by looking at this example. Since by this point you should be quite familiar with the fundamentals of the organic nomenclature, I am not going to explain every step in gory details, but rather focus on the rules specifically associated with the alcohols. If you need a refresher of how the nomenclature works, I'll leave the links to those videos in the description below. So back to my molecule here. Our step number 1 is going to find the longest continuous chain containing our functional group, which is an alcohol in this case, which means that we need to start with this atom over here and find the longest chain including this guy. And by my count, it should be this chain over here. Remember that if we have multiple possibilities, we need to prioritize the chain with the maximum number of substituents. Next, we are going to number our chain, giving the lowest possible number to the carbon with the OH group. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like this. So our parent in this case is going to be the heptane. It is also called the principal chain if you like it this way. Next, I'm going to identify the substituents on my chain. In this case, I have a couple of methyl groups in the positions 2 and 6, and I also have a chlorine in the position 7. Remembering that I need to alphabetize the substituents when we put the name together, I get 7-chloro, 2,6-dimethyl, heptane, and since I need to indicate where my alcohol is sitting in the molecule, I'm going to add 1-ol to the end of our name, giving me the complete name of 7-chloro, 2,6-dimethyl, heptane, 1-ol. And remember that the numeric prefixes like di do not count for the alphabetical order. So when we are alphabetizing our substituents in this case, it is going to be M for the methyl versus C for the chloro. Alright, moving on to the next example, how about this molecule over here? Looks a little bit scary, I know. So the first thing that we need to do here is to find the longest continuous chain containing our OH groups. For this example, it's going to be this one. Next, we need to number our chain, giving the lowest possible numbers to the carbons with the OH groups. And I'll run into problem here right away, because numbering from both ends gives me the same locants for my OHs. They are both at carbons 5 and 6. So what are we going to do about that? Well, as always, we are going to look at our tiebreakers. First, the positions of other groups, and then the alphabetical order if we still don't have any differences. The red numbering system gives me substituents at carbons 4 and 9, while the blue numbering system gives me substituents at carbons 2 and 7. And since 2 and 7 are the smaller locants, we are going to choose the blue system and not the red one. So I'm going to erase the red numbers and only leave the blue ones so I don't clutter the picture too much. So this way our parent here is going to be the decane 5,6-diol. And notice how I specified both the positions of the OH groups by saying 5 and 6 and saying that I have 2 of them by using the prefix di. Next, I'm going to identify my substituents. I've got an ethyl group at the 7th position and I have a chlorine in the second position. And by alphabetizing my substituents before the name of the parent, I get 2-chloro-7-ethyldecane 5,6-diol as my final name. Now, moving on to the next example, let's look at a cyclic molecule, let's say like this one. I'll remind you real quick here that if we have a functional group in a cycle and it's the only functional group, we don't have to specify its position, as the numbering will have to start from the carbon with that functional group anyways. Meaning that here our parent or principal chain is going to be just cyclohexanol, we don't have to say cyclohexane 1-ol, and the numbering will have to start from the carbon with the OH. And when it comes to numbering the simple cyclic molecules like this one that don't have their own specific rules about their numbering, we'll have to number towards the next closest substituent. In this case, it's going to be clockwise. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So here I have a butyl substituent in the second position, and make sure you're not counting this atom as a part of your group. Remember, the atoms of the ring are not a part of the substituent group. And we also have a couple of methyl groups here as well. So by alphabetizing everything, I get 2-butyl 5,5-dimethyl cyclohexanol. And of course, since we have a specific stereochemistry given to us with this molecule, we'll have to also indicate that as well by adding 1R and 2R at the beginning of our name in parentheses. Make sure you remember how to assign your R and S stereodescriptors. If you have a molecule like this one where the stereochemistry is explicitly given to you and your instructor doesn't specifically tell you to ignore that stereochemistry, they will for sure expect you to include the stereodescriptors in your name as well. So if you don't include those, you're going to likely lose the point, so be very vigilant about that. Alright, so we have seen how to name regular open-chain alcohols. We have also reviewed the nomenclature of cyclic compounds. Now, how about molecules where we have different types of functional groups? Something of this sort. Well, here I have an alcohol, and I also have an alkene, a carbon-carbon double bond. Well, when it comes to the nomenclature, all groups have specific priorities, and it has nothing to do with the CAP rules and the priorities that we use for the stereochemistry. The nomenclature priorities list is its own list, which you'll essentially have to slowly memorize by adding functional groups one to one to it as you go through those functional groups in your class. So, from the perspective of the nomenclature, alkyls and halides are not considered functional groups at all. Alkenes and alkynes have the next priority, and as I have explained in my alkynes nomenclature video, alkenes have a slightly higher priority only when the numbering is the same. Otherwise, they are the same in terms of priority. Alcohols, however, are higher in priority than either alkenes or alkynes. This means that we'll have to prioritize the position of the alcohol over the alkene when numbering our chain. Which means that in my example above, I'll have to number my chain from the right end, and as neither alkene nor alkyne have a prefix form, we'll end up with the multiple suffixes in our name. The highest priority functional group will always have the very last suffix in the name, at the very end of it. So this way here I will end up with hex 4-ene-2-ol as the name for this molecule. So to summarize what we have learned today, prioritize the alcohols over alkenes and alkynes when numbering your molecule. Remember to add the location of the OH group right before the OL suffix in the name. If multiple OH groups are present, list them all and remember to use the appropriate numeric prefixes like di, tri, tetra, etc. And finally, don't forget to include the stereochemistry when appropriate. Thank you for watching. I want to especially thank all Organic Chemistry Tutor members and donors for your continuous support and encouragement. If you've learned something new today, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for daily organic chemistry updates. Watch this video next, and I will see you tomorrow.